Welcome back to the Thomson Broadcast Studio at NAB 2022. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to our next guest for joining us as well. We have Anshul Kapoor, Head of Broadcast Solutions at Google, and we have some exciting things to talk about with a new partnership with Thomson Broadcast.
Absolutely, and it's amazing partnership that we have embarked on, and we look forward to what all we can do together in the future. I think the market is just getting started in terms of hybrid workflows and the work that you guys are doing, and the trust you have actually given in Google. We look forward to working with you in the future.
And what does this partnership mean? What makes it an attractive partnership and a cohesive partnership?
So in Google, the in general across different, and I'll talk about Thomson in a second. Like the way we are looking at all our partners is that we understand we want to move the whole ecosystem forward and help our customers move the whole ecosystem forward. So each of our partners are specialized. We work with a lot of partners, but each of our partners are leading in the area where they are in. And especially with Thomson, I think when we started conversations with you on what we can achieve now and where you want to take the market in the future in terms of hybrid workflows, things you can do in the cloud, and some of the new products that you are going to launch. I think we look forward to collaboration on that.
And especially during the pandemic, there was so much innovation, right? You were talking about hybrid workflows. Yeah. That's something that really came to market quickly in a lot of areas.
Absolutely, and I think that's something last 2 years has actually accelerated for customers to realize that things are possible on the cloud. And in some ways, actually, it's even removed all the barriers of things that may or may not have worked out. In some ways, it was a giant science experiment over the last 2 years. So, it's definitely, we've made a lot more progress in the last 2 years on migration to the cloud and hybrid workflows.
And that trial and error, that's where some of the genius comes from, doesn't it? When you test things, like you said, a science experiment?
Absolutely, and I think that's where, and that is a little bit where we are going to, where I think it's, the customers want to take benefit of the fact that you can actually change the services. You're always on the latest versions of software because there's so much innovation happening. So you don't have to wait for buying a new software release every 6 months or every year. It's all about being constantly up to date, and also not just from a new functionality point of view, but also from a security point of view. You're always on the latest and greatest software.
That's a really good point too, the security point. Particularly in the broadcast industry, if you could share with our viewers that cloud-based solutions as it pertains to the broadcast industry, what excites you there?
Yeah, so I think when you call broadcast, but what we're also moving, and some customers and some partners call it as a media supply chain. It's all about getting the content when it's being created and being able to distribute it to multiple to audiences anywhere. So the workflow or the supply chain from production to play out to media management, transcoding, etc., to the point it's ready for distribution across different formats. That's what we call broadcasting. And innovation, what we're seeing is that there's a lot of innovation happening in individual elements of it, but also for customers are trying to unlock more and more value by migrating all of their supply chain onto the cloud. And it's not just about being able to do what you can do on premises and doing it on cloud, because of course you could do that, but it's a lot of the customers are actually taking that opportunity to also focus on what else can they do that was not even possible in their current infrastructure. So is it all about consolidated data that's coming across the value chain, and that's something that excites us a lot. So.
Wow, the horizon, there's a lot coming on the horizon, isn't there? Okay, and when it comes to a partnership, like the partnership with Google and Thomson Broadcast, leadership is key, shared values is key. How have you found the Thomson Broadcast leadership?
Absolutely, I mean, and that's part of, as you say, that's part of the reason, aligning on not just the vision, but also more importantly on the values of the two companies, leadership values of both companies. That has actually that has brought this partnership together. And I think we also have a shared vision on where we see the industry going. And it's less about being tactical, more about strategic view of where the media industry is going in the future. We look forward to collaboration.
That's incredible. And how will GCP's role in the broadcast industry change technology as a whole? and as we know it?
I think it's it's an understatement that the media industry is going through a massive change. But also what we are seeing is that me as an audience, I want to consume content on any device, anytime I want to. How that makes a difference upstream on how the content is produced and broadcasted across different formats, that is becoming increasingly important. But also, like earlier I was talking about, what else can you do now? Is like me as a user, I expect my service provider to know what I like, and recommend the shows to me, rather than me having to look through a catalog of shows that are available. So that means the media companies and broadcasters need to understand the customer, the data that the customer and the data that the customer is using their service, and may start making decisions on that. That is something that is not being done in on premises, and this is one of the potentials that we believe cloud can bring to change the workflows.
That is incredible, and it's really that anticipating the needs of the consumer even before the consumer may know they need it, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's what makes it exciting for us. Yeah.
Well, with someone who has all of this experience with one of the largest companies in the world, with Google, when you walk around NAB, what do you see? What are you enjoying seeing at NAB?
To be honest with you, I think the biggest and best thing for us is just seeing people. Seeing people beyond the small squares in the screen, meeting people in 3 dimensions. Just building on the relationships, and actually even finding out how have last 2 years been for everyone. I think that by itself is a big benefit. There's a lot of there's a lot of innovation that's also happened over the last 2 years in the industry, from new formats, new ways of migrating the supply chain onto the cloud. So that all of that is exciting, but to be honest, the biggest part for me is just actually meeting people.
It's been such a void, isn't it? I mean, especially in the tech sector, when you're used to computers and everything, but then all of a sudden being away from that human interaction, it's you miss it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us here in the Thomson Broadcast studio. Much more coming up this afternoon.